So, hello and a very great evening to each and every one of you. Hope you all are doing very well. Please let me know if I'm clearly audible and visible. So, today we will be starting with the series of articulation in English. And in today's session, we will go to the introduction. So, articulation will help you in so many aspects such that you can learn and enhance your articulation skills in general, as well as if you are appearing for any particular exam or any exam for that matter in which articulation is of any help. So if the questions of any exam are in English, then articulation will be the subject which will definitely help you understand the question, at the same time make you help you frame responses which are accurate. So please let everybody know in the group that the session has started, and whoever wants to join in the live session can tune in, and then we will start with the session in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So I hope nobody else wants to tune in right now, and we can start with the session. Okay, so for this we are going to refer to this Art of Articulation PDF, which is available on the internet, and after going through this I found it completely accessible for everyone to use. So let's understand what does Art of Articulation means and how do we actually define it. So if we say articulation, it means that the right content in the right context presented in the right way to the right audience to get the desired outcome. Now whenever you're trying to speak something at any point of place, at any point of time, you do have a certain objective. Am I correct? You have a goal or a motive or an objective to fulfill whenever you are trying to speak something. Can I get a yes or a no whether that is the case or not? Do you guys have any objective when you speak something? And we are saying this in terms of a conversation. When you have someone in front of you and you want to say something, it certainly has an objective. So the thing is, whenever you want to make sure that your objective gets completed, you have to deliver the right content. It means that whatever is your objective and whatever you are saying, they have to be in line to each other in the right context. It means that whenever you are saying something, it has to match with the circumstances, or you might have heard the term camouflage, which means that you have to steadily become invisible in the fact that you are in an environment which is different than what you are thinking. So you have to camouflage your content in such a way that it completely syncs with what you want to tell to the other person in the right way. Now, you must have heard or you must have experienced, whenever somebody says you something or you are trying to say something to someone, you ensure that you have a right tone, you have a right pitch, and that is nothing but the right way to the right audience. Now, there was a video in YouTube in which there was an army colonel who was saying an example in which he said that when he was outside of a building, maybe like we can say BSc kind of stuff, wherein that is a stock market or some kind of a business setting, in which he was standing, and then he saw a group of men in which one was their leader, or you can say the CEO of some company, and there were four other employees. So there was a group of young kids who were, you can say, like not the privileged ones and who were asking for money. So there were 4 to 5 students, like kids, who were going to the other four people, and there was that one kid who went to the CEO and asked for the money. So he described it in such a way that you needed to understand who can get your things done. So that is nothing but the right audience. So whenever you have an objective to fulfill and you are saying something to someone, you have to ensure that you not just talk about the right thing, you have to present it in the right way. At the same time, you have to present it to the right audience. It means that if I am teaching this articulation, it is for the people who are interested to frame sentences. It is for some of the people who are interested to learn articulation. This session will not make any sense to the people who want to learn physics. So I have to ensure that I am delivering it to the right audience. Then and then only whatever is the desired outcome, that will be fulfilled. So how do you define the art of articulation? It is clearly defined as the right content in the right context in the right way to the right audience. As I told you, that right content, it means definitely what you want to achieve your objective. Right context means you have to ensure that whatever background is attached to your information makes complete sense. In the right way, it means that you have to ensure proper pitch, proper tone, and to the right audience, it means that you are delivering it to someone who is the authority and the charisma, or you can say the proper way to understand and implement it. So that is nothing but the right audience. Then and then only you will be able to get your fulfilled desired outcome. Are we clear with the definition? If yes, please let me know whether it is clearly understood or not. Come on guys, if you are there in this session, please be active and let me know if things are understood or not. Then I can proceed ahead. If not, then I'll try to repeat it once again so that you clearly understand it. Somnath, the group is intended only for the questions that arise out of the teachings that I am doing. So if you have any doubts or any questions regarding what I am teaching, then and then only you must post your doubts in there. I hope that makes sense. So let's proceed with the session. So then we have certain articulation parameters. When you are talking about articulation and you clearly understand the motive and you are able to deliver the things to get your objectives done, you have to figure out or you have to follow certain parameters so that your objectives get fulfilled. First of them is nothing but the use of context. So as I told you that, for an example, you know that there are two types of cricket. One is an insect and one is a game. Now if I'm trying to say somebody that I saw a cricket flying, if the person has any idea about the word cricket and he or she knows about that cricket is also an insect, then he or she will be able to figure out that I'm trying to talk about an insect. But if they have only heard about the term cricket as a game, then they might not be able to understand what I'm trying to say. So here I have to give them a context. For example, that I was sitting inside my room and I suddenly saw a cricket flying around me. So it means that they have now a context, which is that I was inside my room and there I saw cricket flying around me. It means that I'm clearly not talking about the game of cricket. I'm clearly talking about something that can fly, and that fly is nothing but a cricket, which is an insect. So first is nothing but the use of context. So whenever you're trying to articulate something, you have to ensure that you have the correct context attached to it. Second is nothing but the structure and intellectual control. Now if I'm trying to say something or if I'm trying to deliver something, it has to come into structure. You might have said seen several memes in which they say that try to understand the chronology. Now trying to understand the chronology basically refers to that you must try to understand what the structure is, how the flow of ideas take place, how the things start from the top and go to the bottom. So there has to be a structure that has to be followed, and at the same time there has to be an intellectual control. It means that whenever you're trying to say something, that it has to make sense where the sentence is starting and where it is ending. Then and then only your objective will be cleared if you are able to ensure that the person in front of you is able to get the max of what you are trying to speak or say. So that articulation, one of the parameters is nothing but the structure and intellectual control. Third is nothing but the audience orientation. Now once again this is very similar to what is happening or what happens in the for example, what happens usually in the YouTube. If the audience is in the mood of studies, they will try to figure out and search for videos which they are interested to study about. But maybe that happens in the morning, or some people who are more inclined towards studies, they will be doing it in the evening. But most of the time the audience is totally exhausted because of their work routine, or maybe you can say because of their habitual things that comes into their day-to-day life. So the audience orientation is not towards learning most of the things, but maybe towards passing some time, towards getting some entertainment. So audience orientation is important to what you're trying to frame or what your objective is at that point of time. Now if I'm trying to teach articulation, I have to ensure that the audience who are coming here, or the audience that I intend to have over this session, is nothing but the people who are interested to learn articulation in English and to improve their English skills. So that is nothing but the audience orientation. If the audience are interested towards improving their articulation skills, then they will be able to understand the session better and have a sense of, we can say, learning towards this session. Then we have the identification and use of all available channels of communication. Now if I want to convey something to the nation, then most probably in earlier times my mode of communication would have been nothing but probably a newspaper, probably television media, because if I go through those mediums, maybe the entire nation is the one who, like, on a collective basis the entire nation reads newspapers, or on a collective basis the entire nation watches television. So earlier my channels of communication would have been television or newspaper, but in today's date we have official communications which goes on through emails, we have unofficial communications which spreads rapidly through WhatsApp messages. At the same time we have the tweets, Twitter, internets and all. So those are nothing but the channels of communication that we have. So whenever we want to convey something to someone, we have to ensure that we identify the proper communication. Maybe for example in the case of articulation, we can have a phone call, we can have an email, we can have a one-to-one meeting on a Zoom or maybe a Google Meets. So these are nothing but the channels of communication which we have to ensure that we identify it correctly. It means that if the person in front of us has sufficient time to attend a call, then it would be best to approach him or her on a voice or a video call, so as to get pass our information or the information that we want to convey. That would be the best option for us. If not, if the person is short of time, and usually a person who is someone interested in reading and replying to emails, then email would be the best for sort of communication for us. So these are the first 4 points. Then we have the choice of ideas to articulate. Now if we are trying to articulate something, and in order to ensure that we get the max benefit out of it, we have to ensure that the ideas that comes across it. Now if I want to get something, maybe we have to ensure that nowadays we are having overcrowding population, and we have to ensure that how do we control it. So in that sense of time, we also need to understand that we have to come up with brilliant ideas. It means that how can we get the things done? Should we enhance the quality of the infrastructure so that we are able to accommodate more population, or should we restrict a number, saying that this is the only kind of, this is the number of population that should survive or that should be allowed in a particular premises. So that is something that we need to figure out, that is something we need to articulate on. And articulation in the same also means that we needed to communicate these things to the person or to our audience. So please let me know if all the 5 points, the first 5 points which I taught you so far is or are clear or not. If there is any doubt, please let me know, I'll try to repeat it. If everything is clear, please let me know. Anyone in the session who can give me a reply to go ahead, or if has any doubts, I'll try to re-explain it. So I assume that there are no doubts, and since you guys are not replying, I'll move ahead with the next point. So next point is nothing but the ability to drill down and provide details as and when as well as where required. So when you're trying to come up with something and explain it to somebody else, there are certain cases that there will be doubts in the person ahead of you, and he or she will ask you about details, about clarifications that went unidentified or maybe unexplained. So that happens mostly when you are at the receiver's end, when somebody is trying to say something to you and you do not understand things. You try to ask, you try to get it clarified. So in the meantime, the person who has to clarify it should be able, should be enough, we can say, should have enough information so as to ensure that you are satisfied by the responses, and then only you will build that sense of trust so as to move ahead with the request. So that is nothing but the ability to drill down and provide the details as and when as well as where required. So if you're trying to come up with something and you want to ask for something to someone, in that essence, whatever he or she is asking to you, that this is not the way I think the approach should be, can you please explain what made you come up with this approach? So you have to ensure that what things you have done. It means that you have to drill down. For example, you can say that I tried to go via 2-3 different examples, and I read 3-4 case studies. In those case studies, I understood that this, trying to figure out with the approach A, would be feasible for the 1 or 2 points, but rest of the points would be unfeasible in our situation. I went with the approach B, and there I found out that most of the things were going beyond our budget constraints. So you have to provide ample details so that the person in front of you feels satisfied with your responses. So that is nothing but the fact that you have done your homework, you know about what you're speaking, and you know that you have the details because you have researched it thoroughly. So that is the ability to drill down and provide details as and when as well as where required. If somebody is asking you, please provide me the details by evening, these are the details, where it means that what will be the scenarios in which I need to provide the details. Thank you, Shubham, for that appreciation. I really appreciate that. Then we have the ability to apply the meaning of a story and instance to a business situation. So as I told you the previous example, that in that scenario there was a bunch of kids who went to ask for the money, but instead of asking to the CEO, they were asking to the other employees. Now employees are not the ones who will be readily having. We are talking about a general situation in which CEO is the one who has the capacity and the capability to deliver the requests. So that is nothing but the ability to apply the meaning of a story. So that was the story that by which I wanted to say that if you want to get something done in a business situation, you have to ensure that you are approaching the right stakeholders. You are approaching the management, or you are approaching someone who has the means to get your requests done. This is nothing but the 7th point of ability to apply the meaning of a story and instance to a business situation. Then we have the plausibility. Now what does plausibility here means is that whenever you're trying to explain something in terms of articulation, you're trying to articulate something to somebody, you have to ensure that you take your own time and you try to ensure that whatever you are trying to speak to the other person, he or she is able to understand it clearly, and you take your pauses, you take your understanding to ensure them feeling that the other person is actually understanding what you want to convey. It's not just what you are keeping on conveying and the other person is taking it into some other world. You have to ensure that you both are on the same page. Then we have the number 9, that is nothing but the language. Now whenever you're trying to articulate something to someone, you have to ensure, as I told you previously in the definition, that you have to watch out for your tone, you have to watch out for your aggressiveness, you have to watch out for the pitch that you're using. So that is nothing but the language. Now language has all different types of parameters that we can see over here. These are nothing but the 5 different parameters. First is nothing but the verbal. Are you using the correct verbs? Are you using the correct approaches? Are you using the correct sentences? Then you have the paraverbal. Are you ensuring that whatever articulation you are trying to speak is in line with your expectations and the objectives? Then we have the pronunciation. Now depending upon which stakeholder you are talking to, in which scenario you are, who is the one you are facing to, is he or she from the same background, from the same culture that you are, you have to ensure you get the correct pronunciation, because in different cultures or in different ethnicities the same word can have different pronunciations. At the same time, different pronunciations can have different meanings, so you have to ensure that you are getting it done right. And of course pronunciation has to go in line with the accents that you are trying to come up with. So that accent and pronunciation will make the combination in which you have to ensure that it conveys the right message that you are trying to convey. And definitely non-verbal is very, your gestures, your tone, your pitch, each and everything comes into that non-verbal part. So language, I would say, is, if not the most important, it is next to the most important. So now your question should be something which is nothing but what was the most important. So if you know what that most important thing was, do let me know in the chat and I'll try to say you whether it was correct or not. And then finally it's nothing but the handling questions. So whenever each and everything has gone in line with your expectations, your objectives, as you remember the point number 6, it was nothing but the ability to drill down. That drill down was nothing but when somebody asks you in the middle, interrupts you and asks like, this is something I did not understand, this is something that can you please walk me through. So in that situations you have to take out the details and explain to him or her, whoever is in front of you. But at the last is nothing but the handling questions. Now handling questions, those questions could be coming from anyone. Maybe it would be coming from the stakeholder that you are speaking to or the person right in front of you. Maybe those questions could come from the person who is surrounding the most important person. So in that situation you have to ensure that whatever knowledge base you are coming up with, whatever requests you are coming up with, and whatever idea was there with you that you wanted to ensure that gets fulfilled, you have to go up, down, sideways in order to ensure that there is no information that you have left, and any questions that could pop up you should be able to answer those things. So that is nothing but the handling questions part. So please let me know if all those 10 pointers were crystal clear, or do you have any doubts. If there are any doubts, please let me know. If you have any doubts in the definition of the articulation, or if you have any doubts in the articulation parameters, please let me know. Thank you for the heads up, Shikhar. I'm glad that each and everything is crystal clear. So we have the definition and we have the 10 different parameters that we need to ensure in order to get the correct message to the correct person, and to ensure that whatever our objectives are via that means of articulation will be cleared off. We have not left any scope for using the correct context or in the control or the structure that you wanted to convey, or to ensure that we are conveying the right message to the right audience, or we have not used any improper modes of communication or improper channels of communication. So we have tried to come up with the best channel of communication that will ensure the timely response to our queries. Also we took care of all the choice of ideas. We had to take in order to articulate the best circumstances that we required. Also, we were ready with all the ability to provide details when and wherever it was required. We were also ready with the ability to apply meanings for the stories and instances to any particular business situation. We were right up on our toes to ensure that we use the correct language, be it verbal, be it paraverbal, be it non-verbal, pronunciation and accent related. And finally, we are all right waiting for the questions part if anybody has anything, so that we get our objectives cleared by the end of our articulation session. So with that, I would like to say thanks for joining in today's session. Do subscribe to the channel and press that notifications icon so that whenever I schedule the next session, you guys know about it and you will be able to join the session and learn from the session. If you have any specific topics about articulation that you want to learn about, do feel free to drop them in the comment section. Do let me know how do you feel about the session and if it was crystal clear to understand the things, or if you have any doubts. So this was articulation in English that will be useful for any English examinations or to improve your English skills in terms of articulation. With that, I would like to say thank you for joining in the session. Once again, I would request, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and there is the Telegram group which is present in the links section of the about channel, or you can see it in the scrolling text below. You can join the Telegram group live with Atul. In that, if you have any questions or doubts regarding this session, do not forget to put them or just post your questions in the comment section. I'll try to answer. With that, thank you once again for joining in. See you guys in the next session. Till then, goodbye, take care.